Good evening, everyone. It is 6 o'clock on the dot on March 5th, 2024, meeting of the Gallatin City Council. And we'll begin the evening, as we always do, with the prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilman Carter will offer the invocation, and I don't know who's supposed to lead us in the pledge. It's not on there. So Councilman Hayes, you've still got your right arm usable to lead us in the pledge. If you'd stand with me, please.
May we bow? Dear Lord, we thank you for giving us traveling grace to get to this place. We ask that you would just send a sense of togetherness as we do the business of the city. Lord, we ask that you would just bless us all collectively and individually. Lord, we ask that you would give us the things that we stand in need of as it is in your will. And Lord, we pray this prayer in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me to pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You. Before you have, roll call. Ms. Kittrell, please.
Vice Mayor Love.
Here.
Councilman Carter.
Present.
Councilman Fan.
Here.
Councilman Fennell.
Here.
Councilwoman George.
Here.
Councilman Hayes.
Present.
And Councilman Juvance.
Present.
Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you, and thank you, everyone, for being here this evening. Before you have the minutes from February 6, 2024 for your consideration for approval.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Councilwoman George,
Second.
second by Councilman Carter. Vice Mayor Love, you have something I can tell? Oh, you do not?
I was
Okay.
looking innocent.
Any corrections or additions requested? Okay, all in favor of approving the February 6, 2024 council meeting minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Minutes are unanimously approved. Before we go to public recognition on agenda-related items, I have been asked to move up items 8, 10, and 11, and we would move those following the 3 public hearings. So 8, 10, and 11 will become 4, 5, and 6 with no objection from anyone. Seeing none, let's consider that done. We'll now go to public recognition on agenda-related items. This is the time of the meeting that you may speak to any item that is on the evening's agenda. There's also a time at the end of the meeting where you can speak to items that are not on the agenda. You'll have 5 minutes. We ask that you give us your name and your address for the record, please. I also want to tell you there are 3 public hearings this evening. The first one is on the Woods Ferry residential development, and then the next 2 are on the annexation of a portion of 2 parcels located northeast of Lower Station Camp and southwest of Big Station Camp. So if you're interested in speaking on one of those items, you may wish to wait until the public hearings. If not, you may speak under public recognition on agenda-related items, which is now open, and you may come forward if you wish to speak.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Todd Alexander, 217 Strange Circle. I had to make sure there was no bikini comments tonight. I wanted to go ahead of those. I want to speak to the banks of Lock 4, and my hope is I can make every meeting and plead with you to rethink approving that project. There's a quicker way to come here from my house than going down Nichols Lane and through Nichols Circle, but I did that tonight after I saw the graphic that Councilman Jovance showed last week, where how many homes per acre are in the Nichols Circle project, and then how many are proposed in the Banks of Lock 4 project, and it's just unbelievable. It blew my mind. And so I drove there tonight looking at the large lots, looking at the nice homes, looking at quite a bit of space between homes, and then thinking what that would look like if we built smaller, narrower houses stacked up with only 10 feet between them. And I thought that absolutely would not fit that area. Nichols Lane and Nichols Circle, those homes are so nice and so spacious. And so I want you to consider that and what this is really going to look like. It's not going to fit the area. And we've beat traffic to death I don't know what I could say. I wish there was something I could say about the traffic on Block 4 Road. What I do want to ask is this. I wish each member of the council, as you vote on these projects, I really wish you would just tell your constituents why you're voting the way you're voting. Tell me why you're for it. Tell me why you think this is a great thing for Gallatin. Or tell me why you're against it and what you see. Because without that information, we're sitting out here and just not understanding why you're making the decisions that you're making to continue to annex, continue to develop, and such higher density than the areas around it. So, you know, it's my ask tonight. Thank you.
Good evening, Karen Bookout, 1006 Quailwood Cove. When all of you ran for election and then were thusly elected to your seats, you entered into a relationship with your constituents. In all relationships, we ask for respect. I'm asking for respect for all of us tonight and for your undivided attention to those of us who work up the guts to come up here and speak. 573.09 acres. That's how many acres are proposed for annexation or development on tonight's agenda alone. The public expects its elected officials to conduct themselves with integrity, as always having the best interests of their constituents. I can tell you from personal experience, having lived in a town with self-serving elected officials, how this is all going to turn out over the next decades if the unchecked growth is not stopped. I moved from the metro New York, New Jersey area to Port St. Lucie, Florida in 1978 with my parents. At the time, there was one traffic light, one grocery store, and one gas station, and there were just 20,000 residents. Now, I watched over the years, rampant growth destroyed ecologically sensitive areas, replacing it with medium and high-density developments. Just over 4 years later, the current population of Port St. Lucie is 565,000 people. Gallatin is blessed with a charming downtown. Port St. Lucie was not so fortunate. It now had no city center or defined business district and continued its history of haphazard planning and zoning, the focus on residential growth. Only later, in 2007, did the city recognize the need to attract businesses and attempt to create a city center, resulting in a bad real estate deal made with a Chinese developer who to this day owes them, the city of Port St. Lucie, $60 million in TIF. I hope I'm saying that right. The city center went into foreclosure. Retail spaces briefly occupied went out of business. The surrounding properties to that city center were proposed for high-rise condos, sit undeveloped to this day from 2007. But the worst of the oversights, without a vision of what the future held as a result of their poor planning, was the lack of hurricane evacuation routes built over the many rivers and wetlands, allowing residents to safely get out of town. The creation of two 10-mile multi-lane thoroughfares in 2015 and 16 cost billions of dollars. Transversing from east to west required the taking of thousands of homes through eminent domain and the destruction of sensitive wetlands. I recognize Gallatin is not Hurricane Alley, but the message is clear. Annex, annex, annex. Build it, build it, build it, without a vision for the future, knowing full well TDOT does not have plans on the books for at least the next 40 years to widen 31 or Hartsville Pike. If you are thinking it will all work itself out, or it does not matter because you won't be around, then you're mistaken. The names of the Port St. Lucie decision makers from years ago are remembered when taxes are raised to pay for their bad debts, legal fees still pursuing a Chinese citizen, and when sitting in daily traffic jams making what should be a 20-minute drive more than a 60-minute drive. Does the traffic jam situation sound familiar? A final thought to leave you with. From my late teens to late 20s, I snorkeled on a pristine coral reef 2 miles from my home, teeming with tropical fish, rays, sharks, and magnificent corals. Over a 15-year period, that same reef would be dead, brown and collapsing, spotted with a toxic orange bacteria brought about by storm runoff laden with fertilizers and wastewater. My family and I enjoyed boating and fishing in the intercoastal and local rivers. Most summers now, warnings to stay out of the rivers, intercoastal, and the ocean, and the beaches are closed. Those warnings are posted up and down the southeastern coast of Florida. Toxic blue-green algae float on the water, closing down water activity for personal watercraft and businesses. The nitrogen-rich runoff occurs when rain-washed fertilizer used on high-maintenance landscaping such as those in medium and high-density developments. Any developer who tells you runoff from Lock 4 won't negatively impact Old Hickory Lake is lying. It is absolutely impossible to fully contain that runoff. Exposure to high levels of blue-green algae and their toxins can cause diarrhea, nausea, vomiting, skin, eye, and throat irritation, and allergic reactions and breathing difficulties. Pet and livestock illness and death can happen if animals consume large amounts of water-containing blooms, and it stinks. Blue-green algae smells like rotting fish. Our lakes, streams, hills, and forests are not that different. What will it take for this council to consider the future of Gallatin and the surrounding areas you so desire to annex and build on? Mayor, council members, imagine posting no fishing and no boating signs at Lock 4 Park and other areas throughout the city. Imagine canceling boating season on the lake. Imagine the stink of blue-green algae in your backyard. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Brown, City Council members, and staff. My name is Vicki Hendrick, 560 Peach Valley Road, 1145 Lock 4 Road. I don't know why tonight I got anxiety so bad, I can't hardly get a breath. The last City Council meeting, I must say I was really shocked. I heard the developer of the banks of Lock 4 make the comment, homes are much better than cows. It upset me, and I thought to myself, when was the last time he enjoyed a steak, a glass of milk, or butter on his bread? I feel we all here have a significant responsibility when it comes to our environment. We absolutely do not need to waste such a valuable commodity. Such a valuable commodity is things that the agriculture and the energy that we use and we live on a daily basis. We breathe the air from things that are toxic that are put off from various things. But land, our agriculture, and our energy are here every day for everybody to utilize. And when we take it away, I just don't know where we're headed there. All of these things that I just mentioned, the agriculture and the land and everything, those are all God-made. And I remember speaking at a meeting here, I don't know how long ago it was, about, I watched this Japanese businessman talk about don't invest in stocks and all this stuff, invest in things that are God-made, cattle and land and gold and silver. We have presented the facts. We have reached out one-on-one to council members. We speak at public meetings. We bring friends and neighbors from our community. We have written emails. We have made many calls, and I know many others have drove around the area talking to neighbors and asking questions. I've lived in Gallatin 42 years. I've always loved it here. The beauty, the history, the lake, friends, family, and my church. This is a big development our city is considering. I'm just doing my due diligence here. I passed out some papers with some information I found in searching online. Found some from BBB, local news stations in different states, and legal actions taken by homeowners in various states. I cannot verify this personally. City and states include Tampa, Florida, Youngsville, Louisiana, Kauai, Hawaii, Madison, Alabama, Parker, Colorado, Anderson County, South Carolina, Baldwin County, Alabama, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, San Antonio, Texas, and Dallas, Texas, just to name a few. Everything I had in my hands are now in your hands. Please don't take this lightly. I'll end with this. Genesis 2:15, then the Lord God took the man and put him into the Garden of Eden to cultivate and keep it. Thank you all for your service to our city. Like I said, I'm anxious.
Go, okay. Hello, I'm Mary Simpson. I live at 1275 Lock 4 Road. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight, and I'm speaking against the proposed banks of Lock 4 development. I've heard it said more than once that we're all speaking against this proposed development because we don't like change and we don't want anything built near us. Just to set the record straight, we aren't against change or development. We are against irresponsible change and this particular development. We know the Greens have every right to sell their property. However, wouldn't it be more beneficial, tax base wise, for the city to have a higher quality development? a development that would be such a better match for the quality of this amazing Lakeview property. The quality of this proposed development is just not suited for the quality of this beautiful land. Why wouldn't we all want a development that we could be proud of, one that would be an asset to our community and a pleasant, eye-appealing addition to our existing neighborhood character area? All of the amenities they are proposing that seem to be so amazing to most of you, that being said, based on some of the comments I've heard you say, is simply nothing more than putting lipstick on a pig. It doesn't change the quality of this development at all. Although the proposed development has a density of 2.36 using the overall acreage of the Green Farm, this development will physically contain all 695 units crammed in on 148 acres, small lots with many only having 5-foot side yards with inadequate parking, which will undoubtedly be an eyesore. R8 PRD 2.36 density just isn't the same as having 1 to 2 houses per physical acre that an R40 or R20 zoning would bring. The R40, R20 zoning would be a perfect fit for this beautiful Lakeview property, unlike my string bikini analogy that I spoke about at last week's meeting. Some of you have noted, as some of us have also noted, that we would be much happier with a maximum of 2 houses per acre. And some of you have even publicly stated that you wouldn't vote for this proposed development with a density of more than 2 houses per acre. I'm sure hoping that those who have said that aren't now swaying or reneging on their previous promises. I can't help but to keep going back to the Plan Gallatin document, which was adopted by this city council. On page 36, labeled Guiding Vision and Goals, it states, quote, Gallatin should be proactive in managing its growth in order to accommodate new opportunity without overly burdening existing neighborhoods and public infrastructure. And then on page 72, labeled Community Character Practice, it states, quote, character area planning focuses on the way an area looks and how it functions. Tailored development strategies are applied to each area with the goal of enhancing the existing character function or promoting a desired character for the future. Why isn't the city council following the Plan Gallatin document that was developed in conjunction with a whole team of individuals, including the city council, city offices, community leaders, and an advisory task force? Plan 8 of Plan Gallatin notes that it's based on a community-driven vision. What's happened to this vision, your vision for our city? Where's the community in this vision? And again, this development will definitely overburden our existing neighborhood due to the traffic nightmare disaster we can all see coming. As you all know, Lock 4 Road is not adequate to handle all this traffic, much less the 6,500 additional trips a day that this development will bring, along with all of its construction traffic. This traffic won't only affect the existing residents of Lock 4 Road and Peach Valley Roads, but it will also affect all the people who frequent the Lock 4 parks for boating, biking, fishing, picnicking, deer sighting, sunbathing, and walking. The additional traffic would also affect the many septic trucks making daily trips to the sewer plant at the end of Lock 4 Road. To propose the main entrance be placed directly across from Aqua Drive on a steep, blind hill, even with turn lanes into the subdivision, is absolutely insane. I'm thinking it won't be long before the proposed slow down signs will be determined to be an unfeasible traffic solution. The proposed walking trails and sidewalks will eventually be the responsibility of the city to upkeep, as will be the case with the proposed upgraded park sign and swing set across the street. There are just so many red flags and just so many ways that this development is not right for the existing neighborhood, and it's not right for the city of Gallatin. The citizens of Gallatin have placed confidence in you and voted you into the offices you now hold. They have trusted you to act in their best interests. So please consider the concerns of the city, the citizens of the city that have been voiced again and again and again, and let your conscience, good sense, sound judgment guide you to make the right decision to vote against this development. I'm not sure if it's allowable to request this or not, but out of respect to the citizens who have faithfully been attending all of the meetings concerning this proposed development for 2 years or so, I would like to propose a roll call vote with each council person looking toward the audience as they stand and cast their vote. Most of you have applauded and voiced appreciation to the developer for listening and making revisions. We, the citizens, would love to applaud you and voice our appreciation to you, our city council, for listening to us and voting no for this development. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Philip Simpson, 1275 Lock 4 Road. The R8 PRD development is just too high a density for that area. All of the lots adjoining it on Nickel Circle or 1 acre plus lots. I don't know if somebody came in with a 2 acre lot and they requested the R8 zoning, could they put 5 houses an acre on one of those lots? Nobody's talked about Peach Valley Road and Lot 4 Road. That's one of the most dangerous intersections on that road. You have 2 blind hills coming both ways with trucks and cars pulling out of Peach Valley, and you don't see them till you've topped the hill, and it's a dangerous intersection, which one of the entrances to this development's gonna be on Peach Valley and one's gonna be on Lot 4. The traffic is gonna be a nightmare. We own an acre on Lot 4 Road. I don't know if I came in and requested that it be zoned R8, you wouldn't vote for that. There's 1 acre lots beside me, and across the street, there's 20,000 square foot lots. You wouldn't vote that in for me if I requested that. This is just too high a density for the area, for the roads. I was looking at some traffic maps. One of them was 2012, and there was 6,500 cars a day on Lot 4 Road in 2012. I don't know what's out, comes out Lot 4 now, but you've heard people beg and plead, and the same people have asked you, and you're tired of hearing them. But we keep coming because we don't think this development's acceptable to the area. It just doesn't fit the plan. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Matt Dellal. I'm at 819 Seven Oaks Boulevard. I'm with D.R. Horton, the developer and home builder. I just wanted to give you a little background on who we are and what we do. We are the nation's largest home builder. We build across the country in over 50 different markets. Each market is completely different. We built last year over 82,000 homes in total. Here in Nashville, we operate very independent from every other division in the country. We built approximately 950 homes here in Middle Tennessee last year. We focus on homes for families and empty nesters. We build quality homes that people can generally afford. We're currently building in Nexus. Our superintendent is born and raised in Gallatin, lives in Gallatin. He's doing everything that the city of Gallatin requires for building permits and for code releases. He's working with Bill and Chuck, has a great relationship there. We are super excited about the opportunity to be here in Gallatin again with another project. Our project, when we build homes, we don't actually do the work per se. We hire local plumbers, electricians, framers, roofers, finish contractors. So we provide more jobs and more opportunities for the community as well. But I just want to let you know a little bit about who we are and that we value our customers. We value the home that they receive, that they get to live in for many, many years. And we have a relationship with them, and we want to do what's right for them. So if you have any other questions, we'll be here throughout the night. Thank you.
My name's Lina Marler, 1512 Cherokee Road. I promised I was not going to, I do this every time. I was not going to get up and speak tonight. I don't have anything ready. I just want to get up here and beg y'all to please vote no against this with the density that it is. I mean, all I can say is traffic, schools. And then I was sitting out there tonight and I thought, wait, there's one more thing I could say. Our farm backs up to the sewer plant. I walk back there 6 days a week with our dogs. It smells so bad back there now that literally when we round the back field, which is just full of crops, trees, we have to hold our nose or put our jacket up. So now I live at 1512 Cherokee Road. I never smelled that plant growing up. I smell it now. So I guess all I'm saying is I think that there's something going on there. I don't even know how people come out in their neighborhood now. So when we think about all this density and everything going on, how bad is that smell going to be? Because it's not a very good smell. So I just wanted to bring that up because I think it's relevant to density. And please, please think about what we've said for 2 years and consider taking this down to 2 an acre. Thank you.
My name is Mary Janung. I live at 1100 Lockport Road, and I wore my cow shirt tonight. It says, don't piss me off, I am a cranky old woman. And it says, or I will put you in a trunk and let you go find yourself. It's a funny shirt, maybe I wore it for Vicki. I just wore it for Vicki. But anyway, what I wanted to ask you guys, I have done a lot of research, and somebody brought to my attention, and I heard the D.R. Horton representative, and I appreciate him getting up here. There's a lawsuit out of Knoxville, I believe, and it's at the Supreme Court, and it's because the developer, and it wasn't D.R. Horton, the developer built a subdivision that did not match the character of the area, and it caused harm to the other homeowners. And it's gone to the Supreme Court. I don't know the name of the case, but I can get it to you next time I come back. But I wanted you to be aware of that. Also, I have read and been aware of the lawsuits against D.R. Horton, and many of them are class action lawsuits for poor craftsmanship, multiple issues with mold, and just a barrage of things. And I think you have some of that with you. So you need to think about that. But there's something I want to reflect on that we talked about 2 years ago, and that was what was out there on that farm. And one of them I have been very upset about, and I've been still upset about it, is the slave graves out there. I know that the developer has made a little area for the graveyard, which is required by law. And there is another slave grave that's up from there, but it's not on that map because it sits on the Butler farm. But those graves are all intertwined into that property. And there's another one over by the Kirkpatrick farm. So my concern is that we have to take into account the history of the area. I know some of you live in Plantation. Plantation was one of the biggest slave trading areas in the country. It was the biggest slave area in the country by Mr. Franklin. And he traded slaves in and out of there. And all of that area out there is part of that demonic slave trade that they had. So I am concerned about how are we going to preserve our history. And I think about the people that are buried there that do not have gravestones. And when we start to rape the land with the bulldozers and all that, what are we going to find? So I want you to think about that. We've talked about traffic. I know traffic. I sit on my porch and I probably see 65,000 cars go by every day. But we don't talk about the history of our Gallatin area when it comes to development. And I want you to think about that. And we also need, again, think about the environment of our community. There are wetlands, and you get your water from the wetlands. Your drinking water comes from the wetlands. If the wetlands are spoiled, you will get contaminated water, like the other speaker said, and you won't realize it until it's too late. At the end of Peach Valley Road of the development, it goes down the hill, and that will flood down into those water. It's a Corps of Engineers property, but it will flood. All those rooftops can have spill off of water. And what comes off those rooftops, because they are made out of tar and oil, the shingles, that will go into your water, into your reservoirs. We have a problem in our state, and we're in our central basin, that we are having water issues, and we don't want to contaminate what we have. I just don't think this property is big enough, or the houses are too crunched. It's like row houses. When I was looking at the pictures of what they wanted to do, it reminded me of old row houses along the Ohio River that I saw when I was a child. And they were very narrow, and they were shotgun houses, and they're one after the other. And I can tell you that when they start developing that land on Nichols Lane and Mr. Kirkpatrick, it's going to get really bad. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak. My name's Rhonda Harris. I'm at 1124 Belvedere. So I'm on the front side of what the folks on the back side. And of course, traffic is a huge concern. My husband and I went walking the other day. I will preface, I'm glad that I followed that lady because my daughter is saying that I'm becoming Weezer off of Still Magnolia because I am getting livid. And she's like, Mom, you have got to calm down because when we're out walking, I am like, slow down. And I am not, you're not gonna have me show up on the police report or anything. I'm a teacher in the district, but there are things that are so concerning. You know, the quality of the roads are declining. I mean, our little neighborhood looks like gravel road now. The police had been coming and patrolling the speed limit, but I think all of us, Lock 4, everywhere. My sweet little neighbor that has been there for up 10 years sits on his front porch, and he's like, it's just crazy over here. We're watching those three-way stops, it's ludicrous. And not to mention the school system. I'm over at Rucker, and the thought of where the heck are these kids gonna go to school? And it's like everything is always, it's like we get these things there, and then, then eventually we get the things to meet the need. Whether that be the quality of the roads or the schools, the new schools to meet the need of, oh, wow, we've had growth with that many houses. So there's just so many concerns, and we all have it. I know that as professionals, I'm a professional in my field, just like you all are professional in your field. But again, I just reiterate, please, consider whatever. This is just scary to me. It's really scary. Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak under public recognition? Okay, seeing no one, I'll say public recognition on agenda-related items is closed. We'll move to mayor's comments. It is election night. You have 27 more minutes to vote before the polls close. On the 6th, tomorrow, is Chuck Stewart's birthday. The Gallatin Shamrock Run, 5K and 10K is coming up this weekend. That is a really neat event. If you're a runner or even if you're not, benefits the Chamber Foundation, which benefits the schools. Starts bright and early Saturday morning. It's fun to come out and cheer on the people, lots of people in festive St. Patrick's Day attire. Also along those lines, the County Sumner Irish Festival is at Bledsoe's Fort Historical Park. That's from 10 until 3. That's sponsored by Sumner County Tourism and is a favorite for people that like the Irish celebrations. That night is the inaugural house concert at Rosemont. Vice Mayor Lowe, can you still get tickets?
I don't know if it's sold out or not, but you can try.
It is, I think it looks to be a really neat event, so I'd encourage you to check that out. Also on Saturday evening, Sunday morning, spring forward, time change. Councilman Van's birthday is on the 11th. Chamber of Commerce luncheon, I'm mentioning to you on Monday, is Talking Trash. And so Richard DePriest and some of his friends around the state are going to be there talking about something that we've taken for granted for a long time, but is becoming a pressing issue for the entire state of Tennessee. And so we'll be talking about the trash on our streets, but also solid waste collection for residents across the state. And then next week, believe it or not, budget meetings begin. You'll see them all on your schedule, and they are open to the public if they would like to attend. They start between 2:30, I think 2:30 and 3 for the next week or so, and then we will be having community enhancement grant meetings on the 22nd. So those are the events coming up. Is there anything else that I should be mentioning this evening that I'm not thinking of, council? Okay, we'll move on then to the regular agenda. We'll begin with the public hearings, then we'll do those items 8, 10, and 11. The first item is public hearing ordinance 02402-9, and to introduce that, Councilwoman George.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an ordinance of the City of Gallatin, Sumner County, Tennessee, rezoning 16.6 plus or minus acres, tax map 135, parcel 025.03 from the R40 Low Density Residential District, R20 Low Density Residential District, and CS Commercial Services District to MRO, Multiple Residential and Office District with a preliminary master development plan for the Woods Ferry Residential Development, located east of Woods Ferry Road and west of Highway 109, authorizing the revision to be indicated on the official zoning atlas, repealing conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. And this is a public hearing.
The public hearing is open on ordinance 02402-9, if anyone would like to speak. Seeing no one indicating that they would, I will declare public hearing on ordinance 02402-9 closed. Moving on to item 2, which is public hearing on resolution R2402-11. Councilman Juvance to introduce.
Thank you, Mayor. It is a resolution of the City of Gallatin, Sumner County, Tennessee, adopting a plan of services for the annexation of a portion of 2 parcels totaling 49.36 plus or minus acres, located northeast of Lower Station Camp Boulevard and southwest of Big Station Camp Boulevard, and providing for an effective date. And this is a public hearing.
Public hearing is now open on R2402-11. Anyone wishing to speak may. Seeing no one, public hearing on resolution R2402-11 is closed. Item number 3 is public hearing on resolution R2402-12. And also to introduce that is Councilman Juvance.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a resolution of the City of Gallatin, Sumner County, Tennessee, annexing a portion of 2 parcels totaling 49.36 plus or minus acres, located northeast of Lower Station Camp Boulevard and southwest of Big Station Camp Boulevard, into the City of Gallatin, authorizing the annexed property to be indicated on the official zoning atlas, assigning the annexed area to a council district, repealing conflicting ordinance, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. And this is a public hearing.
Public hearing on resolution R2402-12, if you'd like to speak. And no one indicates that they would, so I will declare the public hearing closed. We will move on to item number 8 on your agenda, which is first reading on ordinance 02402-8, and Councilman Fan.
Thank you, Mayor. This is second reading on ordinance 02402-5.
First reading.
Yeah. Did you say first reading? Which one are we on?
Item 8.
Oh, we moved down, okay. Yeah, this is the first reading on 02402-8. It's an ordinance of the City of Gallatin, Sumner County, Tennessee, zoning 235.51 plus or minus acres, not zoned to the R8 PRD medium density residential planned residential district, and rezoning 58.88 plus or minus acres from the R40 low density residential district to R8 PRD medium density residential planned residential development district with a preliminary master development plan for the banks at Lock 4, located east of Lock 4 Road and north of Peach Valley Road, authorizing the revision to be indicated on the official zoning atlas, repealing conflicting ordinances, providing for the severability, and providing for an effective date. Zone -2023-0082. I understand that there's been some revisions on this. Could we bring the engineer or the developer up, say?
Without objection?
No?
I make a motion.
Okay, motion to bring the,
Second.
okay. Motion by Councilman Van, second by Councilman Carter. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Representatives are welcome to the podium. Thank y'all.
Jim Harrison, CSDG. Just wanted to mention that tonight we brought something, a little bit of adjustment to it. We listened to comments at the last council committee meeting, and I want to kind of walk through those. Some of the smaller lots, we've cut the number of smaller lots in half and replaced those with larger, the medium-sized lots. We've also taken the smaller lots. The layout is essentially the same of the development, but we've taken the smaller lots and moved them more interior to the overall development. I'm gonna put my glasses on here so I don't read the numbers wrong. The overall lot count in doing that reduced 20 lots to a total of 675 lots. And that means the density is not 2.36, as y'all saw it last time, it's 2.29 units per acre. We presented that really as just an adjustment that we felt like as we looked at it after listening to council and some of the comments that made for a better plan. It positioned the housing better. All of the previous things that we've mentioned, off-site improvements, open space, everything else is still unchanged. So I just wanted to come up and explain that very briefly. It's somewhat of a minor adjustment, but we think it's an improvement to the overall plan. So that's it. Oh, did you say it's, okay, sorry.
Oh, did you have the visual where you can?
I do,
exhibit
yes.
it?
I'm just figuring out how to use the computer here, maybe.
Potential could help if you need.
Okay, that's it. So John Haas is here with me too. He is the planner. Is it okay if I have him explain
Yes.
those? Okay, thank you.
I don't think we were specific on which representatives we welcome to speak.
Thank you, John Haas with Edge. So what Jim was referring to, let me see if I get this right. Whoops. There we go, yeah. So you could probably see this, but it went from 695 to 675 total lots. And what we did along the collector route, the east-west and the north-south, previously on those collectors, we had the smaller 41-foot alley load. What we've done is made a revision and adjusted those. So now on the collector routes, there are two types of lots, 50-foot alley load or the 85-foot side load or front load lots, which are indicated here in the yellow. And as he mentioned, in doing that, that shift then, everything behind those is now the 41. So when we talk about same thing on the main corridor, the north-south corridor or collector, is those streets are now fronted with the larger 50-foot lots, and behind them are the 41-foot lots. So if you're coming through the neighborhood on those collectors, you would not see those 41-foot lots. So they're back behind those here and here, and we think that's a big improvement. Same amount of open space, as Jim mentioned. In making this change, it was a reduction in the 41-foot wide lots. We reduced that 108 lots. So making that shift, that was almost 50% of the total that we eliminated. I think that's everything. If there's any questions, we'll be happy to answer those.
Are there any questions for the representatives?
Are we
Okay.
correct to see that it's 2.29 units per acre?
That's correct.
And the motion right now has just been to bring up the representatives. We do not have a motion on this, and that's where we are.
Make a motion
Motion to
for
approve.
discussion.
I'm sorry?
Motion for discussion.
Motion for discussion, okay, motion for discussion.
Second.
Second for discussion by Vice Mayor Love. All in favor of discussion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay, floor is open for discussion. If anyone would like to comment, you may. Mr. Javance.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to say that, last week, again, constituent came to speak and they still here, and one made a comment who said that to remind us that we work for them. And I think we should remind ourselves that when we actually work for them. I still didn't change my mind. I appreciate you reducing the 41, but even if they're on the back, they're still there. And I still think that that type of development doesn't belong here. It does not fit the character of Log 4 Road, okay? It's all about perspective and what that's gonna look. I know we got reduced to 2.3 per acre, but if I take the first sheet of the package, and that was kind of in red with cloud around it, was kind of pretty. It said that the single-family detached are on 100 acres. You guys did put that on a paper. So that's 675 units on 100 acres. So that's not going to feel like 2 per acre or less. That's going to feel like 7 per acre. And we should not do that. So again, I went to look at what's around there because I get calls and I'm listening to my constituent. And I took the highest density on Log 4 was going down. And I went on the GIS and looked at the lots. The lots are all 100-foot wide down there. There is not one who's lower than 100-foot wide on the other side of the road. And an average of 250 feet long, with the smallest one, there is only one, who's at 170. And again, that's on the small side of the property. If we keep that character area, if we were actually doing what people ask us to do, and again, I remember a comment last week where a lady said that Gallatin deserves better. We have a nice piece of land. We should make sure it's developed nicely. That's going to bring people, and that's going to keep the character. But if we were keeping that just on the high dense side, we would get 284 units on that development. And I'm pretty sure people who come here and say, thank you, that's what we need. I'm going to go by, again, on a few details. The alleyways, I think there was 16-foot lane. And again, when I do my research, I talk to all the department. And the first thing I know you guys say that I'm pessimistic or stuff, but no, I'm not pessimistic. I think of the worst case scenario because that's what we should be thinking about, what the worst case scenario is. Our biggest apparatus, if there was a fire there and we would have to go there, it's 42.5 long at 8.4 feet wide. And when you deploy that apparatus, you need 19 foot to deploy and stabilize. If you have 16-foot alley, we can do that. I mean, that apparatus cannot go there. So we're playing with safety of people. Again, worst case scenario, we don't expect that, but that can happen, okay? If we look at all the adjacent property, everything around the adjacent is on 388 acres, and 86% of that is rural or low residential. If I add these 295 acres to it, at IPRD and the surroundings, that represent almost 50% of the land. So that tells me that doesn't fit the character area. Again, exemption was given to them, and I think we have an issue there because we give exemption, and even if you maybe won't do that, but I was listening to the planning last night, and there's a group who came ask an exemption on top of the exemption they already got given. So, and that's going to pass as a minor. It was kind of funny that I went back to my notes, was in March 10 when the other development came on, and in my note is written, they will come back and ask for more. So, still a lot. People mentioned the traffic again. I showed you, and I know that got emailed to you a year ago. The study from 2007 was saying Log 4 was not adequate already at that time. We already have 4 times more vehicles than we had in 2007, and we want to add 6,000 more trips daily. So even if the trips are going right and left, we're still going to have a lot, and if that was not adequate in 2007, that's not going to be adequate today. In the comment, say the rezoning and preliminary master development plan is an agreement and consistent with the intent and land use recommendation of the plan Gallatin, including the suburban community area. In a comment, you guys heard one of the speakers talking about what the plan Gallatin say, and I heard, the character area may need to look the same and not need to look enhancing. So that doesn't fit neither or the other. And again, as I was discussed in April 11, and we still disagree on that, there was a discussion who said, and that was said on a record, that we should not approve a rezoning with a potential density higher than what authorized by the character area with the case here. And we had so many changes on that I think that should go back to planning, just because when that went through planning, that got passed using a certain zoning from the ordinance, but when they removed the townhouses, we switched to a different zoning ordinance, different rules. And I don't know if they make the rules from that particular part of the zoning ordinance. Again, we're supposed to be the voice of the people. That's something I heard too, and I agree with that. And another comment I heard was that we can't make more land. Gallatin can do better, and Gallatin deserves better. So again, every constituent I talked to in Log 4, and I talked to a lot, because I made my decision based on what's good for my constituents. And on the other side, the city, I have to balance both, but I work for them. They say that they're not opposed to developing, they're opposed to that particular development and the way that's going to look, because that's not going to fit there. I would like to hear what people say that got mentioned again. Some people say they will not vote for anything with more than 2 per acre, and they change their vote. So I'm kind of surprised because I heard in previous meeting that we had to stick to our word. So I can be confused on that sometime. But I think, again, we need to do something who's going to fit the character of Lock 4, and that does not. So I will be voting no for it.
Thank you. Any other comments or discussion, questions? Vice Mayor Love, you look ready.
I didn't know if Sean looked like he was about to say something. Well, I'm not going to say anything different than I usually do, but this is going to impact most of Gallatin because of where it's located. And the traffic is a big concern. It's going to impact Lock 4, Belvedere, Peninsula, Nashville Pike, which then, goes on over to the rest of the town too. As a teacher at Gallatin High School, I started there back in about 2000. And at that time, we had close to the number of kids that are there now. It was very much overcrowded. I know y'all probably don't have kids or grandchildren that are going to be going there, but even with the building that's gone on there, it's crowded in there. Station Camp was built, which took away a third of our kids, but it's built up and up and up again. So that is a concern. Rucker Stewart is, I'm sure, is in the same situation. I appreciate you making adjustments and being willing to work on that, but I'd like to keep the numbers down at least, or below, or at least at 2 per acre also, like I've said in the past.
Mr. Fennell?
My thing is, he's come from a long ways up, and he's down there at 2.27. I voted against this last time because I wanted it down at 2, and he's at 2.27. I mean, that's right there, just at it. My question to the designer, what's the largest square footage lot that you have in there?
Let me see if you allow me to calculate it. It would be there are certain lots which are bigger than others, but I'll give you the typical large lot. If I can get it to come on here. Yep, 10,200 square feet.
So, last week I spoke that most of them, it seemed like in my neighborhood, was 2 houses per acre, and it seems out of way, but we have a mixed use in that neighborhood, and there's townhouses in there, and there's some small lot sizes in there over by Overton and Gracie Lake area. So I'm trying to get a feel of what this is, but for you guys to have this much open space, I think you're 150 acres of open space. You're trying to produce density right there to save a lot of the open space. Now, one thing that was brought to me was, well, how you don't really, some people think that open space shouldn't be counted on creeks or power lines or whatnot. I think people feel open space a lot differently than some other people. I mean, my grandkid is the type to be down into a creek with a BB gun, and that's just as enjoyable to him as having a flat field with grass. So anything that's open, there's not building on, I do feel that that is open space. From the beginning, I spoke that I wanted something that would encompass the lake. I felt this was a prized piece of property that needs to be developed in the right way to complement our greatest asset, I think, in Gallatin is the lake. I do like the amenities. I'm pretty sure that you've got a walking trail that's all the way around us saying it connects over to the park. You're willing to go into the park and spend some money right there and make things a little bit nicer over and more enjoyable and more of a usage. I feel that this area right here, when you get the people over there, I think it's going to be a real walkable area, or whoever develops it will be a real walkable area. And I think it needs to be to complement, like I said, again, the lake, and I think that it will. I'm still, man, let me tell you something. I'm all over the board and the saying. I'm listening to everybody. You know, I can go either way on this thing. And I really, my heart is just like really, I really don't even want to really vote it now. I mean, I'm still thinking about it. I do want to support it because it does have 150 acres of green space right there. And I like that idea right there. And there are people that like density in walkable areas. I don't really know what, I'm afraid that if this development was not to develop, there's other things that could go in there that is prescribed by our zoning that I wouldn't think would be as nice as what this is right here. I think you guys have really put together a nice plan and spent a lot of time in trying to give something that everybody will want. And I do appreciate the fact that you went from way up there to density and you brought it way down to 2.27, but it's 2.29. I mean, that's quite a bit. The traffic over there, I do own some property in that area. My mother-in-law lives over there. I know that is challenging. I travel it a lot. I traveled it today. I see times over there that I don't really see many people on the road, and I see times over there it's backed up. But you guys also are willing to spend some money on off-site improvements. And I would think those off-site improvements will help us navigate through this traffic. And I think I'm also correct in saying some of the other pieces of property that will develop around it eventually will open up more connectivity on other roads that people can leave different ways, which might also help alleviate the problem. I know Councilman Javance mentioned just a second ago about the fire protection over there, but I think our fire chief has got to sign off on there to make sure that he can protect that area and he can service that area, or we would not be at this stage of the game right now. Am I correct?
I would also suggest that it may have different codes requirements based on proximity to other buildings, but I cannot speak authoritatively on that. Someone from codes might. Am I right? Am I wrong? Okay. Different fire suppression requirements based on how close.
So meaning that it would probably be pumped water into the area or hydrants closer to the building? Or
do you mind?
I hate to pull you up, Chief, but that's...
Because I think at some point sprinklers are required and, and he brings his friend, yeah.
Brandon Howell, Assistant Codes Director. If the homes are built according to our ordinances, if they're closer than 10 feet close together, they have to either be fire rated all the way from the ground all the way to the top of the roof. If they're closer than that, or if they're not fire rated, they have to be sprinkled.
Thank you.
And just to follow up, Jeff Beeman, Fire Chief, that's correct. And then the code requires that the water main system provides a certain water flow and then road width for access for fire trucks to support the requirements in the fire code and the building code as well.
Has answered my question. I have nothing else to say.
I'd like to say something. I think that we've been going through this for the last couple of years, and we had objections for the last couple of years, and I think that everyone has been heard in every aspect, and the builder developers have certainly listened also, and that this land is going to be developed, and I think that the plan that's before us is an excellent one, and including the builder, and the builder has got to be connected to the codes department. The codes department will dictate if there's any issues with the way these homes will be built.
Well, I'm just trying to think a little bit. I mean, it come up this evening that the perspective of it being 2.27, 2.29 houses per acre, the perspective would be different because they're actually on smaller lot size. I understand that. But then again, the flip side of that is if we did not have this density right here and we developed this whole property and put 2 houses per acre, what would it look like then? To me, it would look like you wouldn't have much green space at all. So I mean, you're kind of tug of war both ways at that. Am I saying that right?
John Huss with Edge, yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head. That's what these PRD communities are for, is you take open space or spaces that are not buildable on, say, a 1 acre lot, and you turn that percentage. We're taking, so you asked earlier about your 1 acre lot, and if you were to build, well, if you were to dedicate 50% of your 1 acre lot, how many lots would you have left? That's what we're doing here. And the other thing I would say is, with the open space, we've been very strategic with it. If you've got the plan in front of you, you will notice that all the exterior buffers, there's some cases it's wider than a football field between the exterior property line and a new house. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Thank you.
Also, I hate to keep dragging this out, but this is just important to me. It's an important decision. Jim, was you involved in the development that it was out there towards Cottontown? We have a neighborhood that we put out there several years back that won award for one of the best communities in the area.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I think you're talking about Fairway Farms and part of that with the open space that we did out there and everything with the walking trails and everything else. I'm not sure if that's the one you're talking about, but.
And this will be a nice development?
Yes. Yes, it will be. John and his team with Edge has helped us work on Nexus, which has a huge amount of open space as well. You know, he's very talented at making sure that we've got open space in the right areas. The amenities, the play fields, have been located evenly throughout the development to provide great access. Early on, cemeteries were mentioned. We backed off of those areas a huge amount of space with a huge amount of acreage on the east side where there's a cemetery on site. And then there's a cemetery not on site on the southwest side that we backed off about a football field's length from that with any homes and any lots to create additional green space. Did that adjustment as we went along.
One thing I want to ask, and I'm sure you've answered this question, but I want to refresh it. The amenities over, can you tell me the amenities right quick?
Yeah, I don't have a list of them, but I can run through them. The first amenity I think of is the walking trail alongside the lake in the lake park, the city park. Yes, there are additional swing sets, but there's a replacement of a sign. There's a pedestrian crossing across the road. And then you have a greenway trail, which is built along the frontage of this that will line up and connect with the future greenway trail that the city's doing all along Lot 4 Road. But as you move internally, you've got 3 miles of walking trails, 3 miles of nature trails, 8 miles of sidewalks. So you can take a lot of different paths as you go through the project. Early on the west side of the development, you've got a clubhouse with pickleball, swimming pool. What else am I leaving out? Okay, I'm gonna make sure I don't leave something out. Swing sets, yeah, swing sets, playgrounds. Then as you move into the middle of the project, you've got an athletic field with some seating areas adjacent to it. So we've got it set up like a soccer field, but quite frankly, it's an open grass area that the kiddos can play on. And then as you continue to move to the east, there's a pocket park in the middle of that eastern pod, and there's some sidewalks. And then you get over to another play area that is on that huge buffer that's part of the cemetery piece, but it's behind the houses. And that play area has, what, John? Remind me.
24 acres.
24 acres. So all of that is connected with the 3 miles of nature trails, the 3 miles of walking trails, and the 8 miles of sidewalks. So it's going to be phenomenal. The open space is going to be very usable. Like you said earlier, there may be a kid or two get down in the creek. That may happen, but there's lots of opportunities to play on the grass areas in those spaces where you want the kids to go out there and play pickup games and things like that, or run around with the parents. So it's going to be a phenomenal place. The thing I like most is there's so many miles of walking trails, nature trails, and sidewalks. You can take a different path. You can probably take 100 different paths through the neighborhood. So you can walk through the neighborhood at night, in the evening. And that's what I see in my neighborhood, is people walking all the time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You got an
Councilman Pam.
estimated start date?
We don't have an exact date that we publish, but normally it takes about 6 months to 8 months to work through all of the construction plan process. As part of that, those construction plans will be detention and water quality and all the key components that the city of Gallatin wants to see. It's probably around 6 months, something like that, from the point at which it's actually rezoned, which will be a month, theoretically, 6 weeks from now.
And the completion date of the whole project, just approximate, I know it's hard to.
And we've talked about a time frame of 7 to 8 years, but that is all economic dependent. That's sort of at the pace that things are happening right now. But it could happen, it could go a little longer than that. One of the things that was mentioned, I know there's the collector roads that are in there. That's going to give plenty of time for those to connect at other places and provide choices for people. And that's why we built it the way we had. And we're very, very thankful to planning staff helping us work through that to make sure that's laid out the right way.
Carter, Mr. Hayes. Okay, Mr. Javance.
Thank you, Mayor. Sean, to go back to what you were saying about open space, I think we have to be honest. Piece of the open space is on the TVA easement where they cannot do anything with that, and the rest in mainly creeks. And I appreciate you keep the creeks, but the creek's going to stay there because it will cost you so much money to get rid of them that that's not going to be feasible. And you know how I know that, okay? Because I was able to buy 7 acres out of the development behind me because that was going to cost so much money to get over the creek that they rather sold it to me than trying to fix that and build it. So again, I appreciate that, but we need to look, and the second thing, when you talk about traffic, I don't know, I read the traffic improvement, and I honestly don't know how that's gonna work. The main entry, they say that people arriving up is gonna have to make a right turn and wait there for the traffic to be able to cross and go in the development. So I drive that road. I go see people who live there, and I still don't know. That doesn't make sense to me. If that road was a 3-lane road, maybe, but right now, that doesn't make sense. And I know you're calling your traffic engineer, but again, there is plenty of things who look good on a paper who probably not going to work on real life. And we all know that. So it's theoretical depending on what's going to happen. So I think we have an issue there. And again, that should, if you were inverting the lots and you were telling me, hey, we're going to get the big lot, get that percentage we have on a 50 and make that, and, and put a real soccer field in the middle, that would be okay. But again, I don't think that fit there. And I know you guys working hard, and I was here from day one, from the first meeting you guys did. And from the first meeting, people arrived and say, that doesn't look right there. And again, you have the opportunity to do something fantastic there and just not try to sell it, just on what's around it, with the open space, because people are going to live right in the middle, right there. They're going to open the door and all they see is neighbors. They won't see the open space. So, I appreciate, but that still should not be that right there.
Anyone else with any comments or questions?
The gentleman that talked about using local contractors and labor, does he have a percentage of what that would be in this project?
Matt Dowdle, D.R. Horton. Yeah, it's 100% from the Middle Tennessee, Nashville area.
Oh, but.
Yeah, we don't bring in contractors from California or anywhere like that. Everything's local.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, I just want to say, I was sitting here thinking about as all the conversation was happening and the residents were speaking. I think the perpetual conflict that exists and will always exist between the elected bodies and the citizens is that no one, and I've said this before, that no one ever wants anything built next to them. And I don't know why I'd not thought of this before, but I grew up in Laura Lee off Douglas Bend, and built behind our house for decades was Foxland. And I remember like thinking, well, that's just really different. Our house was probably, I don't know, 7 acres or something like that. And right behind us is Foxland. Just right over the fence from our house is Foxland. And having conversations and learning from some people I knew many years ago, way before I was mayor, neighborhoods aren't built like they used to be. So our house was built in the 60s. Most of that neighborhood was built in probably the 80s. But now, and it's the government's fault. I mean, we require the building codes, we require the stormwater, we require the, we protect, we had a creek that ran right through our backyard that would not be allowed to be built on at this time. We have all the requirements that change how development has to happen. And then at the same time, what we like is a really large, spacious neighborhood. It costs a lot for a city to maintain. What we like is a dense neighborhood. It's more cost effective to maintain long term. But for the people who are investing in it, that infrastructure has gotten so expensive, also because of the requirements that we place on them, but then because of materials and labor and all the things that we've seen go up. So I think it's difficult to realize, because we're kind of all in a similar age group, how development has changed. And not just development has changed, families have changed, desires, needs have changed. I mean, there certainly were not playgrounds and pickleball tournaments in the neighborhoods we grew up in. Just expectations, lifestyles, accessibility to so many things that didn't used to be. It's all changed a lot. And it's difficult to navigate it, because I, for one, do not like it. And when I buy another house, it will be in an old neighborhood with a big lot. But that's not what most people seem to want these days.
Nope.
Anyway, with that, if we're ready to vote.
Motion to move forward.
Oh, well, you're right, we have not, I'm sorry, okay. Well, thank you, Ms. McCauley reminds me that we have not had a motion, so. I said we have not had a motion.
I just made the motion.
Okay, thank you. I didn't,
Well, this is council meeting. Motion to approve.
Oh, sorry. Motion to approve.
okay.
Second.
Motion to approve by Councilwoman George, second by Councilman Carter. Not trying to move anything along, it's just typically our first motion is,
Yes.
and it's been a long discussion. Yes, Councilman Juvance.
Thank you, Mayor. I have to agree with you on something, that the staff we required are really expensive. And, for example, the sidewalks. And if we had bigger lot, we maybe would not need sidewalks. So I was wondering if there is a way for us to work with them to see, because that has to be feasible money-wise, to give them some.
Require
Pascal.
sidewalks, and I think it just require longer sidewalks.
Let me say this, and knowing where you live, and I see where you're trying to go with this, and I do respect that, but when I lived 20 years on that big farm up there, I really liked it, and I brought my kids up. Now where I live, those sidewalks are used every day. If it's raining outside, they're using the sidewalks. I don't care. I never would have thought the need for sidewalks in a town till I moved from living 20 years out there down to where I'm at now. So I see a big need in sidewalks. And touching real quick on another point that you made, and I have really thought about this development. I even had an argument with my wife about it last night after going out to eat. So, two ways to look at it. Put it closer built in, then you got more green space, or if you spread it out, then you're not going to see continuous fields or much green space. You'll just see a big lot with a house in the middle of it. Right now, I tend to like the green space that they've got, and they dropped it down to 0.29. They're trying, they've come a long ways, and, you know, I'll leave. 0.29, yes.
Anyone else?
I'd like to explain part of my vote. I'm going to vote for it to move this on to the second reading, but we had one citizen say he wants us to tell why. And I think you'll familiarize with this when I tell you, and I've noticed this over the last few years. These neighborhoods that are designed like this, the older neighborhoods, I'm sure the codes department would tell you, they get daily complaints about somebody putting a building in their backyard, or they've got a truck parked in it. This won't happen in this type development. It will be cleaner, and it'll stay cleaner.
Anyone else?
Why is that though, Steve? Why do you think that?
Think that what?
Why do you think somebody won't put a truck there or something, or,
The yard size for one.
yeah, you won't put much there. But I don't see
Well,
why
I
they
do
wouldn't
think
put it.
HOA governance helps in a lot of ways that, city government cannot, I think that's part of it. Anyone else? Okay, with that, let's
Can we
vote.
get a roll call on that, please?
Had a request for a roll call vote. Objection, anyone? Ms. Kittrell, call the roll, please.
Vice Mayor Love,
No.
Councilman Carter,
Yes.
Councilman Fan,
Yes.
Councilman Fennell,
Yes.
Councilwoman George,
Yes.
Councilman Hayes, Councilman Juvance,
No.
passes 5 to 2.
Thank you. 5-2 is the vote that I counted. We will move now to item number 10, passes first reading. We will move now to item number 10, which is first reading on ordinance 02402-12. Councilman Hayes is recognized.
This is an ordinance of the City of Gallatin, Tennessee, rezoning 14.057 acres from the CG Commercial General District to MRO Multiple Residential and Office District, and 14.293 acres from the PGC Plan General Commercial District to the MRO Multiple Residential and Office District, with a preliminary master development plan for Gallatin Gap on 2 parcels totaling 35.01 acres located north of Nashville Pike and west of Harris Lane, authorizing the revision to be indicated on the official zoning atlas, replacing conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Hayes, a second by Councilwoman George, opening the floor for discussion. Councilman Juvance.
Thank you, Mayor. Like I said last week, there is too many apartments in that area. And again, I remember all of you who said you will not approve more apartments, but looks like word means nothing, so I would still be voting no.
That's not very fair of you to say.
I stick to my word. When I say I'm not going to vote for something, I stick to my word.
Please speak for yourself and don't disparage other people based on things that,
Myself, not for me or anybody else. We're all
I will do
capable
whatever
adults
I
that
want.
can speak for
let's
ourselves.
not argue. It's just, there's been several comments about people keeping their word or not keeping their word. I think, things do change and opinions change and stuff is learned. And one of my favorite things to say has always been, with the information that I have now, I currently feel this way. And so, what someone said 10 years ago may change, or, so
Thank goodness
I'm
there
just
is
asking you to be kind and not try and discredit people up here that are all trying to work together with you. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but that was.
I've said before that I don't love apartments, but right there, I think it's a good idea. It's going to help Ball State kids out. They can share an apartment, help the Gap out too, although I wish more of them were designated for the Gap employees, but it's not a bad place for apartments.
I agree with Vice Mayor Love. I do wish that there were more units allotted to the GAP employees, but I do love that it's right there close to the college, and that can possibly make it easier for college students to find a home when they come to Gallatin for school.
Did we get a final number on the number that's going to be designated for the employees?
It's 25.
They said 25.
I was told it may come up. I don't know. Have anybody here?
We haven't been apprised of that, so I would go with
They will
25.
continue to work with GAP, so
Yeah.
it could be at the end if they decide to.
And I mean, it's not really our concern with their, but remember, this is land that the GAP currently owns, so I'm sure they're working together on this plan.
Well, no, they made the statement that it was not a partnership. Are they buying the property from the GAP?
Right. Yeah. GAP has choices on who they should sell to and what happens based on. I guess we go with 25 at this point, to answer your question. Anyone else?
I'd like to know how long this adjusted rent will last. Is it going to be permanently?
He said it would be, indexed with inflation and indicated perpetually, but I mean, I'm not going to say that authoritatively without them confirming that. He indicated it would be perpetually, because I remember him talking about it would be an index with like whatever rate it is their first year, it can't be that forever and ever, but it could adjust, with inflation, just like any other.
There'll be no controls over it.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that.
My concern is the GAP says, okay, we're going to say it is.
But I think where we have to be careful is we can't interfere with the arrangement they make with the GAP.
I don't disagree
Yeah,
with that.
and there's probably some things that are a bit proprietary, but they did, I remember them saying that it would be adjusted
Yeah,
accordingly.
I mean,
so.
it's a profit for the company too. But the fact that they're offering this is
I'd like
really-
to see them put something in there that'd be no more than 25%. No, I'm talking about the rent, but according to federal standards, my understanding, affordable rent is 30% of your gross pay, and that includes utilities.
I do not know how they calculated what they would charge with the GAP, but
This isn't government subsidized, I don't think.
yeah, and it's not government subsidized. Without objection, may we have representatives speak? Folks, good, go ahead.
Yeah, apologies. I didn't know if I should come up and answer some of these questions.
I didn't
guys-
see you, so I apologize,
Okay.
or I probably would have said, help.
No, I'll try to rewind a little bit and address this. So, the agreement right now is in concept with GAP. It's not finalized. We're still working through it. It is something that GAP's happy with. It's something that we've come to, we've negotiated with them, we've worked on with them, and that's kind of where it stands. As far as the I guess, potential for perpetuity for the agreement, again, conceptually, as long as GAP is an employer in that location, the discounted rent will be offered. And then, again, I'll speak to, I guess the, 30% of rent. A lot of times those metrics and calculations of rent and discounted rent and affordable rent, that's all based on kind of public policy and public offerings. This is a private offering, just two private companies doing a deal together as a partnership. So, we're not getting anything in return for this. We want to work with GAP because they have housing needs, and that's kind of where we leave it. We're trying to provide discounted housing that's walkable, so we can try to help solve their two issues of we can't hire people because they can't afford to live in Gallatin and they can't afford transportation. Well, here's some discounted housing, and here's the way they can get to work.
And Ms. Kitch will need your name and affiliation for the record. It's okay.
Yeah, Andrew Steffens, address 929 Gale Lane, Nashville, Tennessee.
Do you think by the next meeting, y'all have an agreement on how that's gonna look?
Again, it's between two,
I'd still like to hear it.
but
That is the agreement.
I'd like to know their intentions, what I'm saying.
That's it. That's it. He just told us.
Huh?
He just told us.
The Councilman Fan, also want to put you at ease that GAP has an army of very technical lawyers that is working through the documentation of this. So I'm not sure. Well, I'll just say this. The document's going to be, GAP is going to be very protected. I'm sure of it. We've been working with and talking to attorneys in California in their corporate office for quite some time. So it's not just a simple agreement. It's a very complicated private partnership agreement for housing.
I'm not against the project. I'm wanting a definite definition or an understanding at least of what their intention is.
Yeah, understood. Yeah, and I'm happy to answer further questions. And, again, the deal is not inked yet because it's a complicated housing covenant. But the business terms and the concept have, pretty much been set with GAP and the development team.
Thank you.
But happy to provide any other answers or information I can.
And I do have some information for you for Vol State, but I cannot locate your card. So if you will get me another card, I'll be happy to discuss with you.
No worries. Thank you for helping us, make inroads there. We've, again, made a bunch of calls, just hadn't been able to get in touch with the right person. Thank you.
Bates might have something she would like to add.
Yeah, one of Rosemary Bates Economic Development Agency, one of the people working on the project asked me to help reach out to Vol State as well, and I did. And I got an email from Dr. Deaton, the interim president. They're excited about the project and the opportunity it can provide for students. They're especially excited about the walkable connectivity, and at some point they would love to meet with the developers to maybe discuss partnering or what they can do as a community to work with each other.
Yeah,
But
I do think we need to figure out a
Dr. Deaton did
way.
email late or this afternoon, and I shared that with Mr. Ramsey.
Right.
Not you, I apologize, but they're all excited about the project.
Well, if this is approved, I think finding that walkable connection could be very meaningful on both sides.
Absolutely. And, thinking through it further after the conversation about Vol State kind of came up last council meeting, we do actually have pedestrian connectivity out on National Pike. I think the intent, you guys, we would study maybe an easier, more direct path if we can figure that out. But there is sidewalk connectivity from our project too.
We could some way get to that Ball State campus, which would also give you through access to the Gap, so.
Right. Yeah, we just, I guess, haven't had fully time to study that, but it's definitely on the radar. So thanks.
thank
It's
you.
great suggestion.
Thank you.
What else with comments? Okay, so this is first reading on ordinance 02402-8. I would ask all in favor to say aye.
Aye.
Opposed to say no? No. Okay, it passes 5-1. Okay, now let's move to item number 10, which is first reading on ordinance 02402-12. Councilman Hayes. Oh, we were supposed to be doing 11, not, wait.
What are you looking for? I don't have any more. We're on number 11.
Oh, we just finished 11. Okay, I did not,
Finished 10.
I had not made notes.
We're losing a forum here?
We just finished 10, we're going to 11. Councilwoman George. Sorry, y'all. Resolution R2402-13.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Gallatin, Sumner County, Tennessee, authorizing the property owner and applicants to submit an application to annex 3 parcels totaling 106.85 plus or minus acres into the city located north of Peach Valley Road and west of Woods Ferry Road. I so move.
We have a motion by Councilwoman George, a second by Councilman Hayes. Opening the floor for any discussion. Seeing none, this is Resolution R2402-13. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. It passes unanimously, well, 5-0, I guess. I'm trying to look out in the audience, there's a few people here, I know there's someone here specifically for item number 12. Without objection, may we go ahead with that as well?
That's what's next.
Is that okay, Vice Mayor Love?
Oh,
Kind of related to the one ahead of it. Is that okay, Vice Mayor Love? 12.
Number 12, sure. Okay. This is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Gallatin, Sumner County, Tennessee, authorizing the property owner and applicant to submit an application to annex a 77.55 plus or minus acre parcel, tax map 113, parcel 020.00 into the city located north of Hicks Lane and west of Dobbins Pike. I so move.
second.
Motion by Vice Mayor Love, second by Councilwoman George. Any discussion? This is Resolution R2402-14. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes unanimously, 5-0. Huh?
No one can leave after this.
Yes, no one can leave after that, or we will not have a quorum.
What are we missing?
Well, we're going back to item number 4, which is second reading on ordinance 02402-5. Councilman Finn,
You say one, okay.
item 4.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a resolution appointing, we're going back.
Item 4, yeah.
This is the second reading on ordinance 02402-5. It's an ordinance appropriating funds for the Events and Community Tourism Marketing Coordinator, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Fan, second by Councilman Carter. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. It's approved 4-0. Yes, Chief Andy. Item number 5, second reading on ordinance 02402-7. Councilman Carter, if you would.
This is an ordinance appropriating $7,635.53 for repairs to the fire staff vehicle, and I so move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Carter, second by Councilman Fan. Is there any discussion? This is second reading on ordinance 02402-7. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. It passes 4-0. Item 6 is second reading on ordinance 02402-10. Vice Mayor Love.
This is an ordinance appropriating funds to reallocate bond proceeds and allocate earned interest. I so move.
Second.
Motion by Vice Mayor Love, second by Councilman Carter. Are there any questions, any discussion? This is second reading on ordinance 02402-10. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 4-0. Item 7, first reading on ordinance 02402-6. Councilman Carter.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an ordinance appropriating $49,500 from equipment sales towards the purchase of a single-axle dump truck with snow plow and spreader, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Carter, second by Vice Mayor Love. Any questions, any discussion? This is first reading on ordinance 02402-6. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes unanimously. Item number 9, first reading on ordinance 02402-11. Councilman Carter.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an ordinance appropriating $75,000 from drug fund, restricted fund balance to drug fund transportation equipment, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Carter, second by Councilwoman George. Any questions, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number, okay, now it's, I'm gonna get confused, okay? Item 13. It's Resolution 2402-15, Councilman Fan.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a resolution appointing Don Cunningham to the Gallatin Industrial Development Board, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Fan, second by Vice Mayor Love. Is there any discussion? This is Resolution 2402-15. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Passes 4-0. Item 14, Resolution 240, oh, wait. I'm so confused at this point. I'm doing 4 things at once. Councilman Fan.
Go with it.
You say 14?
Mm-hmm.
We just did that.
No.
13.
Oh.
I'm not alone.
This is a resolution appointing Don Cunningham to the Gallatin Health, Education, and Housing Facilities Board, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Fan, second by
Me.
Councilwoman George.
I have a lot to do.
Any questions, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Passes unanimously. 4-0. 4-0. It's not a ball game. Item number 15, Vice Mayor Love.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a resolution approving a waiver of the site plan application fee in the amount of $300 for the approximately 0.47 acre City of Gallatin Public Works and Engineering parking lot expansion located at 633 Long Hollow Pike. I so move.
Second.
Motion by Vice Mayor Love, second by Councilwoman George. Any discussion? All in favor of Resolution R2402-18, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Passes unanimously 4-0. And item 16, Councilman Carter, if you would, please.
Yes, ma'am. It's a resolution approving a waiver of the surety for the Sumner County Resource Authority. I so move. A motion to move it in the council. No, I'm sorry.
Motion to approve. Motion by Councilman Carter, second by Councilman Fan. Any questions, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Does pass unanimously. Y'all, that was the most exhausting trip through a regular agenda, and I apologize. A little chaotic. That does conclude the regular agenda. Brings us now to other business. I'd ask if any member of our remaining members of our council body have anything for other
Councilman
business.
Carter?
Okay, yeah, sure. So while we're sitting here, I probably shouldn't be checking my email.
Don't name names.
But I did, but someone sent me an email and told me that and I quote, it says, "You are a disgrace to the city, you big gorilla-looking fool. Get out from that mic and flap those lips." Like, first and foremost, to everybody that's racist and ignorant, and me and everybody else up here is doing what we feel is best for the city of Gallatin. I'm not doing it for Stephen Carter. I'm not on the take from anybody, and I'm not trying to help advance any agenda for any developer. I want to see Gallatin grow and be wonderful so that if I have children one day, they can go off to college or do whatever they want to do after high school and come back and live in a city where they can grow to love it as much as I do. And I also want Gallatin to continue to grow and be great for my nieces and nephews that live here. Thank you.
And Councilman Carter, I have had that same person say really horrible things to me and about me. I think it is not, I think it's not how most people in Gallatin are. I'm very sorry. That was a horrible thing to say to you, but I do not think it's representative of our city.
Also cowardly.
It's also very low class and not Gallatin. And he said the same, he said
I've
bad
seen
things
it,
about
I've
all
seen
of
it
us.
said this week, Sumner County, we're better than this, and certainly Gallatin, we are better than this. So yeah, let's be better to one another. We can. There's no room for that. Anyone else with other business? Okay, public recognition on non-agenda related items. There are 4 people who are not employees left in the office. No, 3 people that, maybe only 2 that are not employees.
I have another thing.
Okay,
So on
Councilman
a
Carter, that's another
positive,
thing.
yes, on a positive note, the mayor and myself were invited to a luncheon over the weekend for the Paraclete Center in Ramsey Closet that is owned and operated by West Eastland Church of Christ. If you guys do not know about that center and what they're doing, you guys need to reach out to them, visit their website, because they are doing tremendous work in the mental health field and providing needs for people whose needs need to be met. And so I live 2 minutes away, and I didn't know all the great things that they were doing until that event. So I'm looking forward to supporting them, and I hope that you all would reach out and support them as well.
They do have an amazing ministry, and I was fortunate to be engaged when they first started, and so I know what they've done. But to hear their numbers last Saturday was really compelling. 50,000 clients served through their counseling services, and $2.6 million in clothing given away. And like I told them, that 2.6 really has an economic multiplier, because that means success in school, that means jobs in the community, that means clothes that get passed on again to help someone else. So they have been very deliberate in ministries that serve needs in our community, and they are proving that they are making a difference. And they do take donations of clothes and, of course, money. So if you feel moved to support them, it's certainly a worthwhile, proven cause at this point. So thank you for mentioning that. Public recognition on non-agenda related items. Seeing none. Let's go get some election results, folks. We are adjourned. Ladies and gentlemen, have a lovely evening, and let's do try kindness.
Yes.
Here to